My first 10-day Vipassana course was in 2017, the end of 2016. In this video, I'll talk about what my experience was and where I am now in 2024. Hi, Khalid here. Welcome back to my channel. So my first course happened December 21st, 2016 until January 1st, 2017. It was one of the most life-changing experiences I had ever had. I had shown up, the first day, started meditating, and I was like, this is where I needed to be. I had always been interested in meditation. I had always been interested in self-awareness, self-actualization, although I wasn't using those words at that time and, didn't know it, but I was very much interested in really connecting to, what is life? What is reality? What have I been born into? What is it to be a human? What is it? All these big questions. I was a very curious and very philosophical child growing up. And that had a big impact, and it gave me a natural affinity towards meditation, because Vipassana meditation is the study of reality. It's the study of nature using the experience of the body to understand what reality is. So when I first went, I didn't know what to expect. My friend just literally told me, hey, there is a free 10-day meditation course. And I was like, sign me up. And up until that point, I had done Anapana before, right? I knew breath meditation, that I think that's one of the most popular meditations where you just focus on your breath. Pretty sure a lot of people who don't even meditate might have an idea of what that is. So I had done that for quite a while, and I had dabbled in other guided meditations, imagery, and, it just really didn't click for me at that point. So I had just stuck with focusing on my breath, and that clicked for me. That really really met my need to study the nature of myself, the nature and the reality of what it is that I have been born into, right? And so I didn't know what kind of meditation this was going to be. Like, I didn't even ask any questions, because anywhere where I was going to go practice meditating in any form, I thought would just be beneficial. Even if it wasn't something that was super life-changing, I knew just going for 10 days and being super dedicated to really developing my meditation skill would be great. So I didn't know what the meditation itself was going to be like. I read a little bit about on the website, Dhamma.org. I read, what the meditation was, but, it didn't give you step by step. You didn't really learn it through getting a general overview of what to, what to expect. I learned about how the 10 days is going to look like. I saw the course schedule, right? And the way that it's structured, it's like, you wake up pretty early, you meditate, you have breakfast, you meditate some more, you have a break, you have lunch, you meditate, break, meditate, go to bed, repeat. And there's a evening discourse for an hour and a half, where S.N. Goenka talks and, gives a discourse on what you've been practicing thus far for that day, and takes you deeper and deeper through the 10 days to really go into the depth of the practical aspect or the philosophical aspects of the teaching. And I really love that, because it's like you're spending 10-11 hours a day meditating, and then there's only like 1 hour, 1.5 hours at the very end for talking, right? And of course, when you're meditating, there are, it's like a guided meditation somewhat, you are given lessons and instructions, but the philosophy part just makes up a small chunk of it. And was really surprising to me, because that's what I wanted. One of the things I had come to realize as a young person who had all these curiosities about what life is I knew that my capacity for knowledge and wisdom and intellectualizing and thinking was limited, because I was very young. Like, I knew that I could easily be persuaded. I could hear some things, and even if I read Socrates or I read Plato or any of these things, it was like all I could do was accept, right? Is just say, yes, whatever I'm reading from Socrates must be true. Like, I didn't have my own wisdom, my own thoughts. I didn't have a whole life behind my brain to be able to read Socrates and say, and have an opinion on it, basically, or if I were to have an opinion, it would be like a teenager's opinion on Socrates. And that just, Nothing against teenagers, but I just understood that my opinion either would be super misguided or it would just be blind faith and saying, well, Socrates said it, Plato freaking said it. That's all that matters. So from the beginning, I was like, I don't want to be talked to, and I don't want it to just involve information being dumped from a voice, from a reading, from anything, for me to then use that as the basis of my wisdom. I did not want that. So when I came here and it was like, well, you've got 11 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of meditating, and then a little bit of talking, I'm like, okay, I can do that. I do need a little bit of talking. I do need a little bit of the philosophy, but the main chunk, right? Like 90% of the whole meditation is experiential. And that is, I absolutely loved it. So when I got there, on the day 0, talking, getting room assignments, and everybody's just like, hey, this is gonna be awesome. I remember telling one of my friends, one of the persons that I met there, the last thing that I told him before it was we entered noble silence was, I will see you on the other side. Because I already knew, and by that I meant at the end on day 10 when we can talk to each other, not like other side of the building or whatever. So I meant the journey. And I already knew that this was going to be a phenomenal journey. It was going to be a journey into the depth of my soul, into the depth of my mind, into the depth of everything that I was. And that we were all going on this path together, right? Every single student that was there to meditate, and it was fully packed, right? It was a full course, just as all courses tend to be pretty full. And I told him, I will see you on the other side. And so I had some inkling that I was going to go really deep. So day 1 rolls around and it's Anapana. I felt like I've been doing Anapana for years. I was meditating on and off, and I was already getting it. Right, I clicked because I was already doing it. This wasn't my first time doing breath meditation where I'm focusing on my nostrils. In fact, when I first read about breath meditation, it was the same technique. It was focusing on the breath around the nostril area, and not like in the lungs, not like this big expanded state, but just in this sharp, and that creates that sharpness. So I started to feel like my mind was getting sharper and it was getting quieter. By day 2, the sharpness continued, and I started to notice that I was rolling in the same stories. Because what was happening with day 1 is I didn't talk to anybody. I was doing my meditation, and I wasn't giving new fuel. I wasn't giving new thoughts and new experiences that my mind could start to replay during my meditations, right? Because even when I was meditating, I would get distracted here and there for sure. And outside of that too, right? So my mind would keep, bringing up memories, doing all these things. And on the second day, I started to notice, wow, now it's just going in a loop. Because there's no longer things happening in the day for me to think about and be like, oh, I can't believe he said that or she said that. Man, I would have said this. Man, if I knew, like having those kinds of thoughts where you're thinking about the day and, I wish I said this, or I would have been so cool if I did this or that. So that starts to go down, right? And then by the 3rd day, these thoughts started to slow down even more, because now it's like, it's repetitive, or remembering, the major events in high school, remembering, at that time I just graduated and I was, like a year or 2 into college. I don't remember. But anyway, it was like, I didn't have a lot to think about, thought about middle school for a little bit. And once it got repetitive, I got to be more and more serious on the meditation, because I started to, the appeal of being in my memories and my thoughts and being distracted started to become less and less, because it was just repeating the same things. And this is like one of the benefits of going to a 10-day course, is you don't have that new data. You don't have that new stuff for your mind to keep churning and processing and integrating into the self, right? And then day 4, we learned Vipassana. And now I remember the first guided session with Vipassana, I felt pain and I felt pleasure, but it was more, like it was pain, and this is really interesting because I kind of liked it, but it was more like, when you're peeling a scab, like it hurts, but it kind of feels good and you kind of want to keep doing it. And this, might make it sound very interesting, but it was like kind of that where it's like it was hurting. I was literally scanning my body and I like just felt pain, like I was peeling off like an old scabbed stuff just off my whole body. Literally every single inch that I went to, it was so painful, but it like felt so good at the same time. And I was like, holy moly, I've never experienced this reality before. And that really was interesting because I would think pain would make me want to go away, but it really just made me be like, oh, I have to do this. It was sort of like showing me my wounds. It was like I saw how wounded I was, even though, I might not use those words. And so somehow that just pulled me into my meditation really deeply. And I was like, okay, I have to know what is going on. Right? Because this was a different kind of pain. It wasn't like muscle soreness. It wasn't tightness. It wasn't like my knees hurting. It wasn't like a physical pain that I was feeling, which was very strange, right? It was like a psychological pain embedded into my body. And that to me was just so profound. And I was like, okay, I really want to know what's going on. And that like really boosted my creativity, or my curiosity, I should say. It increased my curiosity to be like, okay, I really need to go, what's going on in my body from a from a physiological perspective, right? And so that really just pulled me into my Vipassana experience. Then day 5, right? Full day, like day 5, 6, they were kind of the same, where I was now starting to go deeper and I was starting to take longer and longer to explore my body. And that was because my mind was getting sharper and sharper. And that sharpness allowed me to feel tinier and tinier. So I started with feeling like an inch, right? I start with scanning, like imagine this is my awareness. It's about a 1 inch by 1 inch. And I'm like, scanning my body like this in a very systematic way so that I'm getting every inch. And what happens day 5, 6 is my awareness got smaller and smaller. Like now it's a millimeter. And now I'm like moving at the same rate, but because my awareness is a lot smaller, it's just taking more time to do it. So I remember, it would take me a whole hour to just do half of my body, to go from my head, all over my arms, my front and my back. And once I got to my hips, the hour would be up. And I'm like, holy moly, how can I be so focused that just moving at a consistent pace is taking me a whole hour to do half of my body? And now, as I've practiced more and more, now it might take an hour to just do one hand, like to just move this much, because my awareness is so sharp and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling smaller and smaller sensations. And I'm able to move through those sensations at, a reasonable speed. But because it's so tiny, the movements take a long time. And this sharpness, this intensity, this subtlety, right? This heightened sense of awareness is one of the biggest benefits of meditation, right? Because when I'm able to go deeper, I'm able to see the deeper realities of my mind, the deeper realities of my body, of my physiology, right? The whole practice of Vipassana, the whole practice of meditation is to start at the surface and then to get subtler and subtler and subtler and deeper and deeper and subtler, right? All the way down. And that really is what has motivated me to keep going back, right? And so day 7 and 8, I'm just going deeper and deeper and, doing less and less of my body in a single hour because I'm just going in so sharp. And I think it was around this time that I could have a full 1 hour session where the first few minutes I'm getting into it. And then once I'm into it, after 5, 6, 7, it might be 10 minutes. Then I don't get distracted all the way till the end, right? So I would enter like this flow state, and I would be meditating without being distracted at all until the end, until, the teacher starts to end the meditation session. And then I would just be amazed, and I would be like, holy moly. And that state of flow, like entering that state of flow at such depth, at such heightened awareness, at such sharpened awareness, really is like transformative. Once I come out of that flow state, I can literally feel the changes in my mind. I can feel the benefits, right, in real time. And it's sort of like, you, as an example, you work out, and then if you notice how you feel right after, I think especially with like cardio a little more than like weightlifting, like you get a runner's high, and you can feel once you're done, you get that pleasure all around, and you get this high that feels amazing. And I'm sure some weightlifters feel that, but for me personally, I feel it a lot more when it's like cardio related, and I've like been cycling for an hour or something like that, where that high is just immediate. And so as my practice got deeper, it's like I could notice profound changes when I come out of that state, and I'm so hyper focused, and I'm like really feeling all these benefits that I'm noticing, and this depth that I'm reaching. And it just felt so amazing. Every time that I meditated, I could feel myself changing and evolving. And so the last few days, it was like I was just doing such deep work. I was going so deep into my mind, being able to focus nonstop for so long, right? And it was just really amazing. And then on the 10th day is when noble silence ends and people are allowed to talk. And this day, I did not meditate for 10, 12 hours. So what would happen was there was still the morning meditation period, meditate, breakfast, group meditation, then the noble silence ends, and then it was just talking, right? It was just meeting with people. How was your experience? I had a great time, this and that, and then talking, and then lunch, and then that's talking during lunch, and then more talking, and then one group sitting from 2:30 to 3:30, then more talking, dinner, more talking, one more final meditation, discourse, and so it was only like 3 or 4 hours of meditation on that last day, versus the other 9 days where it was like, 10, 11 hours of just constant meditation. So the last day, it was like really connected to how much I love to socialize, how much I love to connect with people. And I just felt so fresh and so clean. It's like I cleaned myself. And that is really one of the main things of Vipassana, is how to clean yourself and clean the wounds, clean the trauma, clean the attachments, clean the ignorance, clean, all the things that, make me dirty, for lack of a better word. My ignorance makes me dirty. It makes me less. It just basically makes me less. The more wise I am, the better I am. The more ignorant that I am, in my opinion, the worse that I am. I would rather work towards wisdom than work towards ignorance, right? I wouldn't intentionally choose to be ignorant. And so I could just feel how much wiser I was. I could feel how much more calm I was, how much more connected. And it was like, I missed talking, I missed connecting. Humans were awesome. And, I learned metta on that day. So I'm just sharing love, and I'm, just happy and excited for everything. And that always, like, even after so many courses, the 10th day is always a special day, or the last day is always a special day. And it just always feels really good. To really just see, I could even see how much I had changed socially. Like, confidence was pretty easy. I just felt really good. I wanted to reach out. And, this might be just because I haven't talked for 9 days. But like that feeling of being so comfortable in a social situation and wanting to reach out, wanting goodness for others, really is so heightened on that day. And then of course they'd leave the course and it, dwindles down and stuff. And so I feel as if the first course was my most special course. I've learned a whole lot in other courses. I've, been able to go deeper, and sometimes I've been able to not go as deep. But that first 10-day meditation is really what solidified and made me realize that this is an important practice. This is an important journey for me to be on, and it just really fits who I am and what I want out of life, you know. And so this was my first 10-day course, and, you know, it took me a few more courses to really start to practice daily. You know, now I've been practicing daily for the last several years, and I just feel amazing. I feel happy. I feel joyful. And, you know, I have my moments down and stressed and all that good stuff, but more and more, I just feel more happiness and more joy. And I know that it's thanks to this practice. And so its impact on my daily life, you know, just amazing, phenomenal. I just feel wonderful and I feel amazing, you know. So thank you for watching until this far. You know, if you want to leave a comment, leave a like, and please subscribe. Yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.